In episode 4, we're coming at you for the last time from this house. Tracy and I are moving. We got our new home in Sedona. But for now, we're having a fireside chat. Daniel's going to go deep into some of the origins of trauma and how it arises in childhood. We're going to explore that in depth. We also got a strange and mysterious comment on our YouTube channel. It's pretty long. We're going to get into who that was from, what it's all about, and so much more on this episode 4. All right, here we are, episode 4, having a fireside chat with my good bro Daniel, having some beers. We're going deep. We're about 4 or 5 into them now. Really enjoying this. Looking forward to sharing this episode with you. Thank you for tuning in. So Daniel, what's going on?
Well,
what's up?
One thing I've been reflecting on recently, for a while now actually, over the last few months, or like part of the deeper aspect of the origin story. You know, in one of the previous episodes, I mentioned that I started drinking when I was in India and had been in Bible school. But it actually goes a lot deeper than that, I think. I've always been one for self-investigation, self-inquiry, like really getting to the bottom of things, unearthing all of the layers to get down to actually what is the root of whatever issue it is, trauma, emotion that we could be experiencing. And I remember when I was living on this farm in Oregon for a year, and on the weekends I would come and stay at mom and dad's place. I would go and hang out with dad for a while, drink some wine with him and interview him and just talk about his life and get to know his life. And also talk about early childhood stuff, because similar to me, he's got the memory of an elephant. He remembers like really long-term stuff. And then I would transition over to mom's house and would go over there and hang out with her and drink wine and smoke cigarettes with her. And I would ask her about her early childhood life, and I would ask her about our early childhood life. And one of the stories that she told me, I was asking her if I had ever been breastfed, you know, and she's like, yeah, for sure. And Mom, if you're listening, which I think you are, I'm sorry if any of these details might not be as accurate as they are in your mind, but this is what is in my mind. Talking to Mom about breastfeeding up in Anchorage, Alaska. I had just been born, and she told me that, yeah, absolutely, I breastfed you. I breastfed all the kids, but one of the reasons why she did it was because it was cheaper than formula. And she didn't think that there was anything spiritual or like valuable necessarily in breastfeeding. She did it because, like I said, it was cheaper than formula. And so in spaces of meditation and reflection, I just reimagined it as what came up in my own mind. So I don't know if it's actually entirely accurate, but this is what just came up for me, was that I just pictured myself as this tiny young boy who comes into the world completely innocent and beautiful and deserving of love, deserving of affection, deserving of nurturing, and having a mom who was like almost inconvenient, you know? And so I would get, what I imagined is I got these signals, physical, emotional, energetic signals that reaching out, crying, whatever, needing nurturing, needing loving, needing care, and getting these signals that I shouldn't do that it was actually inconveniencing somebody else. And I remember having conversations with Mom about this, and she was very candid with me about it. And I was like, I'm not offended by this. Like, I'm not upset about this. I'm still not upset about it whatsoever. I think it's something that happened, and no one's to blame for that at all. Like, I'm not angry at my mother for this. This is my issue. It's not a mommy issue. Like, this is my issue. I came into this world and that's what I experienced. And I think that what I experienced there gave me the gifts and the tools for healing for the rest of my life. I mean, still to this day, I don't even really like the word nurture. You know, I don't like the word meal. there are certain words that have to do with like receiving sustenance of some kind that like I just don't really like. And it's always been really hard for me to receive nurturing or care or love.
Yeah, it's almost like that kind of thing where, like, I don't know, how do you say this? If like you're gonna do an experiment with an animal and you put some like take a rat and then you put some cheese in front of it, it goes for the cheese and then you flick it on the head.
Right. Yeah. So you're
And
getting
so
like
every time
negative
it's
reinforcement.
yeah,
Yeah. So I was getting,
like
and then there's this whole other story of that Dad told me during these same times, where he said, Daniel, I have to tell you the story. I feel really awful about this, but there was once when you were an infant, and I think we had gone down to Portland at that point. We were probably at the house that you were living in, and I was probably 9 months old or so. I don't really know. Less than a year old for sure. And I was in a crib. So I wasn't sleeping with mom and dad. I was in a crib, as like a 1 year old or less. And Dad said that I woke up in the middle of the night crying. And so it was his turn. Like he got up to go and see if he could quiet me down. And he did a couple of things to try to get me to stop crying. They didn't work. So he spanked me, so he like picked up this 1 year old or less little infant and spanked him to get him to stop crying. So again, there I was just reaching out for my parents, my gods at that point, my creators, reaching out for my creators, possibly feeling very unsafe in the world, just wanting some nurturing, some positive reinforcement, and I was spanked. I was actually hit. So I was given the signal that to reach out for safety and for nurturing was unsafe. And in fact, if I did it, I could actually be damaged by doing that. And I think that set like this precedent in my psychology.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And so growing up, it was like, again, in India, like
How did you come to that conclusion? Did you think that through yourself or read it in a book or?
No, that was purely me just like thinking through myself, I've never needed really like a psychologist or a therapist. The self-inquiry, I've had this very investigative mind. Going deeply inside of myself has always been very easy for me.
A psychonaut.
A psychonaut, which is typically associated with people who are doing psychedelics, which I have done quite a bit of. In fact, I did, as I was telling you earlier today, I did see a psychotherapist once, and after him hearing me for almost an hour, he was like, I'll tell you what, Daniel, like you actually don't need me. You're doing everything that you can to like get in there and process everything. I've never really heard somebody who can process their own information like you.
Did he give you some kind of certificate or badge? Because it seems like that's an accomplishment to have a therapist tell you that
On their
congratulations, you don't need me. Like, I want to see some paperwork if you have it.
Yeah, I wish I had gotten it in writing.
Yeah. We can invite him on this podcast.
Because I was kind of proud of myself at that point, like I really have been doing the work,
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that work. And I'm not opposed to therapy. I think please reach out to a therapist, if you can afford it. If the resources are available, please do, because it can be very extremely instrumental for some people. So as I was telling you, the first time I had beer in India, the first time I ever got drunk, I was like, oh shit, like this is my nipple. Like now here is a way I can give myself the nurturing I never got as an infant. And my mom, mom loved us, absolutely. But it was just that one story that she told me that like, yeah, breastfeeding wasn't spiritual. It's not necessarily something I wanted to be doing. It was cheaper than formula, and that's why I did it. And I just went into myself to find out the possible situation that actually occurred, and imagining myself as an infant experiencing, the reaching out for the nurturing, the reaching out for care and affection and love, and being told that it was actually maybe an inconvenience. And again, no blame there. That's all on me. And I'm actually, I do consider them to be gifts for me to transmute into healing, psychologically, emotionally. So I
Yeah,
appreciate it all.
yeah, I understand. I think you still got a long way to go. I mean, God willing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you got a long way to go in your recovery process. God willing, you live a long life. But I'm saying that because I sometimes have the great fortune of coming across people who are 60, 70, 80 years old. And like I look at them and like they look like they're doing well. And from what I hear them saying, they're doing really well and stuff. And they've gone through a lot of stuff. So for me, that's very encouraging because I think about death a lot. So to see somebody in their 70s or 80s who are successful, making money, they've done a lot of healing and written books and made a lot of progress. Like, so you're only early into your 40s, like
44.
yeah. So it's very encouraging. Like imagine, right? You're 49,
Yeah.
54, 62, and like then you're really stepping into your understanding of all those lessons. And
Right.
I mean, I just think that's really cool.
No, it is. Yeah. And you and I have both been blessed with the capability of trying to think differently, questioning the narrative, questioning the status quo.
I know I deal with it every day. I mean, my wife Tracy is like telling me to like sweep or take out the trash or something.
Bitch.
I know. And I'm like, and I question, I'm like, sweep? Why? I'm kidding. We got to change this format at some point because Tracy's sitting off camera and she's just like right a part of the thing. She's not on
She's
camera right
laughing.
now.
She's laughing.
We're going to get her on these episodes. Just you wait. You send a comment to her. My God.
Yeah, personalized.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, it's all good. So when I reflect on like the traumas that we've all experienced, there's one of my favorite books of all time. One of the books that really shifted gears for me and sent me on a different trajectory was a book called The Continuum Concept. And I forget the name of the author. We'll find out. And David can put it in the
Link in the show notes.
link in the show notes. The Continuum Concept. It's a woman back in the 60s or 70s who was a model in New York City. And somehow she got this opportunity to go down to South America and spend extended periods of time with this indigenous tribe of people. And she got to watch how they raised their kids. Anyway, one of the main things I walked away with from that book, she said, what we experience in the first year of our lives sets the tone, sets the barometer for what we come to expect and actually what we seek out in our lives emotionally and physically. And so I reflected back on that to like my first year, and so what I come to expect is lack of nurturing. What I seek out is lack of nurturing. What I seek out is like rejection, basically. And I look back at all of my relationships and I'm like, yeah, like some of the most beautiful women ever. And what ultimately happened was like, there was a lot of criticism. There was rejection of who I am. Like once they really got to know me, it was like, I want somebody else,
That makes a lot of sense, what you're describing, but on the other hand, it doesn't make sense because it's kind of crazy that you would seek out the rejection or whatever from
Well,
that.
it's like the sayings that like women seek out their fathers in their partner, men seek out their mothers in their partner, and that doesn't make sense until you like really start breaking it down and looking at your own patterns and looking at your own habits and seeing just how accurate that actually is. Was I looking for my mother in these relationships? Well, I found some women who found it inconvenient to be nurturing. They found it inconvenient to be like loving in certain ways, that might fulfill the gaps that I have in my life, and there's healing along the whole process. I have been fortunate enough to like be able to take a look at these things and really get down to it and implement certain spiritual practices in my own life that I just kind of developed to be able to heal those things. My last relationship was extremely healing. Like she gave me all the nurturing I could possibly want, and it like shifted gears like crazy. And that was incredible, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Yeah, so I definitely encourage people out there, because I know, like you, I ask you, like, if you can go back to some of the traumas, that maybe occurred that would have set the tone for becoming an alcoholic. Like I can prepare soil, right? If I prepare soil in a certain way, I can grow certain kinds of foods, right? So your soil was prepared as a young child to produce certain kinds of fruit, vegetables, whatever. But you can't identify really exactly what soil that was.
No, I don't. As if like some divine creator was creating a cuisine that had so many ingredients. It was a very complex dish. And then you take some idiot who doesn't know about food to like taste it and be like, what's in there?
Right.
I have no idea.
You're the idiot?
Yeah, I'm the idiot in this story.
Right.
As I usually am. I have no idea what's in there. I don't know why. The question.
Right, but you haven't done more than like 5 minutes of meditation or self-inquiry in your life.
Oh God, no, that's the farthest thing from the truth. Jesus, I'm a hermit. I spend most of my time by myself, and all I do is look and think, but wonder.
Yeah, it's bizarre, like how different people can experience their experiences.
That's why I would like to see. Yeah, that's why I would like to see a therapist, just out of curiosity. Because for you, is like you won the challenge.
And I don't want to like attribute it all to like astrology, but like I'm a Pisces sun with the Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius rising, a few other things like this, which are all like the perfect ingredients for a person who has the talent and capability to go like deeply inward and explore and find out all of these things. You're a fucking Aries.
So what does that mean?
Good luck.
Yeah. I don't even know much about Aries. I just know they're kind of fiery, or
they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one more thing. One of the funny things about like professional alcoholics is they have a protocol to be able to mask things, disguise things, and make it appear that they are not necessarily just this dirtbag. So I wanted to talk about some of my protocol.
Yeah, protocols. What do you mean?
By protocols, I mean like this is not the same bottle. I made my own oil. I used organic almond oil and I soaked it.
What are these for?
Well, I soaked this oil in frankincense, copal or elephant pitch, and then ponderosa pine pitch for over a month. It's still soaking at home, actually. And so I use this oil and I apply it.
Can I have some?
Oh, God, yeah, please, Tracy. Will.
What is it for?
Now
Topical?
she's going to fall in love with me.
I'll let him sleep in bed tonight.
Smell that.
I'm sleeping on the couch.
Did you smell that?
Wow.
And I just like coat my beard.
Well, why don't I have that?
And I just put it on my shirts, I'll like put it on my skin.
Dude, that's bad for laundry. You're going to get like stains on the shirt.
No, I haven't so far. I've been doing this for a long time.
All right. Dude, this is amazing.
Yeah. Frankincense, which is like one of the most divine, like spiritually powerful.
It's almost sad because this like makes me feel like natural and clean and stuff. And like when I'm drinking, I don't feel natural and clean. So it's like this clash of like good and evil. It's like, I want this grace. And then I'm just fucking sucking on the devil. Bad boy.
Yeah.
Bad boy.
To me, this is pretty crucial so I can actually show up. I might be pretty hungover, but at least I'm not going to reek like a gin distillery.
Oh, man. Whew. Okay.
And then, because we smoke.
All right, but what's the oil for?
To not smell like a booze hound.
And then this?
Although I will use that if I'm not drinking because it just smells amazing. The ice chips. That's for the breath, obviously. I don't want to,
That's a big one because halitosis is like a sin.
Do you have that?
I don't know. No one's ever told me.
Why are we looking at Tracy?
But here, let me have one now because sometimes I just feel like my breath is bad, and certainly I carry.
No, this is nice, and it's xylitol sweetened, so it's actually beneficial supposedly to the teeth and gums.
I would say that this is a key strategy, not just for alcoholics, but for anyone. If you went out and had a chicken sandwich for lunch and you go back to talk with your coworkers at the water cooler, pop a fucking breath mint in.
Yeah, I'm at the front register.
It's a courtesy.
I'm at the front register at the Chocolate Tree, a few days a week, and I definitely don't want to be off-putting to the guests. I know that they see me, they hear me. I'm a very funny person. I'm an extremely attractive person, and then they get met by this like wall of like alcohol, tobacco breath, and it's just,
No,
it's actually kind of good because I would rather be single the rest of my life.
yeah, I was going to ask you, so with those things you went through with those ladies, like what's your next step? Like what's the next move? Like,
Oh, I'm unattached. I'm
unattached, you're not thinking, I want to draw in my mate and
No, I went through a spiritual transformation we can get into on another episode a few summers ago that profoundly affected my sense of self and like who I think is the self, and came to the point where I recognized that all the love that I have, all the love that I need in this world is already in me. I don't need it from another person.
yeah.
And so I don't seek it out. This last relationship, like love began to happen, and I was blown away by it, and I could do nothing to stop it. And it was incredible. And now that it's over, I just go back to the love that I already have, which is just the love that permeates all of consciousness.
Do you ever foresee yourself like moving like to a cave somewhere and like
No.
just, like I can see you living in a cave, just like a blanket and like
I think I've done
cave
that.
life hashtag.
I think I've done that in previous lives. Actually, I was told that once by some kind of like Sedona psychic, that I've spent many lifetimes isolated, but that this lifetime that I have something to share, that I have something to offer, and that I need to be with people.
Be with the people.
Yeah. Travis Adams, back in 2013, I went down to his property in Dominican Republic. He invited me down there because he had this mountaintop property, and he said, you can come up here and just live by yourself for the rest of your life, grow food, build some buildings and stuff. And I was like, that sounds incredible, amazing, let's do it. I went down there. As soon as I got up to the mountaintop, I looked around, tropical jungle, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, it's true. Because humans are very social creatures. Like there was a few times where I would go out.
You're a very social person.
There's been a few times where I've had you and other friends like drive me out to the wilderness and drop me off, and I've spent time alone in the wilderness alone for days on end before. Stories that should be shared, but not in this episode. And a curious thing happened. I'd be out there for a few days and I'd start dreaming about being around people and talk. I would hear the river going by, and day one, it was a river. Day two, it was a river. Day three, there was like people talking. Day four, the river was people talking. It was
lighter.
It sounded like a crowd of people talking. So
Yeah.
and it compelled me
Which
to
is
go.
interesting because at 3 points in the Bible, it says that the voice of God is as of the sound of many moving waters.
Beautiful.
And you could say that like humanity is obviously an aspect of God.
Yeah.
Maybe not obviously to everybody, but.
Yeah, not obviously, but what is this? Is this something else you want to share?
So then this is a product that my one of my dearest friends made. She's an herbalist and wildcrafter. And this is a wild rose flower essence. And wild rose flower essence is extremely tonifying to like a damaged, wounded heart, which is what I'd gone through.
You got to get on the show. You can't talk in the background. My
So
wife.
I've been taking, she recommended that I take about a quarter dropper a couple times a day or as needed.
Oh, it's internal.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, and so this is a wildflower essence, and I'm not going to get wild rose flower essence, and I'm not going to get into like what is up with wildflower essences, but
Yeah.
they're extremely powerful.
So why would you recommend this?
Well, when I was going through my process and I was drinking myself to death, basically, because of heart wound, I started taking this just to heal the heart. And within a couple of days, I really did start to notice a shift in the strength of my heart, how it was like rebounding and recovering.
Ugh.
It just smells
I'm
like
kidding.
alcohol.
Oh, so it's a tincture.
It's kind of a tincture.
Is there alcohol in it?
There's alcohol in there. Oh,
Ah, lovely.
yeah. So I started taking this, and this was part of my protocol to not just like avoid looking and smelling like an alcoholic. This is a tool that I was using in order to
walk the walk.
recover
Yeah.
from this, and this has been really helpful for me. And you know, we've been studying herbs and working with herbs for going on 20 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I know like what it feels like to have a really effective herb in my body, and this has been one that's been really instrumental in kind of getting my heart back into a place of like sovereignty. You know, to get to a place where like I don't want to be drinking this much anymore. Whereas like a few weeks ago, I was like, cool, you know, single again. I can drink as much as I fucking want to with like no
Yeah, man.
repercussions.
It'd be very different for me if I was in your position, because you're at that house that you live at alone, basically, besides your kind of roommates around,
Yeah.
landmates. I think if I was you there, I'd be like living the bachelor life, man. I'd have hot dogs every night and brioche buns. And yeah, whenever my wife Tracy leaves, honestly, I go there. I get brioche buns, I get hot dogs, I get the beer,
Well, I went shopping with you.
and I watch a movie, you know, and I'm
she
like,
was
just
gone.
like, I feel like,
Yeah. Let it all hang out.
I don't know.
Who gives a fuck?
But I tell you what, I would say to the viewer, if you have any questions for Daniel about anything you just talked about, the amazing tips and recommendations for making sure you don't have bad breath, making sure you cover up your alcoholism by rubbing essential oils all over yourself. Send him,
So good.
send him a message. But I do want to
Yeah, now let's get to this comment.
we talked about mom earlier. Our mother left a comment on our YouTube channel, and it's long and interesting, and I want to share it with you. I haven't talked to our mother in how many years?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's been like, what, 5, 6, 7, 8 years?
Wow.
Something like that. You get the idea. And one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you is because who hasn't experienced some estrangement from your parents? On a recent episode number 2, I'm going to read you the comment. Here it is. I, for one, am delighted to be able to visit with my boys once a week, albeit a rather one-sided visit. And she is a good writer. She did do some writing. I remember back in the day, she'd have her word processor out.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was. To me, it looked like some newfangled typewriter, which it is.
Yeah. She used to write short stories and
Yeah. So she's a good writer. She knows about language and punctuation and...
she knows about language and punctuation.
Oh. Oh, for the love of God.
She knows about language and punctuation and spelling.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's like magic. Boy, it's hot by this fire. Fucking hell. Ooh, it's hot fire. What do you got a hat on, man? If I was you, I'd be taking my shoes off and shit. Fucking hell. All right. Gonna have to do some editing there. Oh, that oil though.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this. Here we go. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and podcasts, so it was interesting to watch your format. Based on the 3 videos I've seen so far, I'm quite impressed. This is one of the best formats I've seen. It's very casual, yet very professionally done. It makes the viewer feel like they're actually sitting in the room with you, participating in the conversation. Your conversation is clear and understandable. While you mostly look at each other, once in a while you look at the camera / Tracy, and it helps the viewer feel included in the conversation. As far as the content, this is something with which a great many people might identify. It has the potential of being a very powerful, moving influence on others because of the intimacy and vulnerability you are sharing. In conclusion, good job, boys. I'm proud of you both for the quality of the podcast and for your decision to embrace sobriety. One question, though, do I get a chance to correct some of the errors in your story?
Yeah, as long as you come on the show.
Yeah, so that sort of came out of left field for me. A comment from Mom. Haven't talked to her in years, but it was very thoughtful. And
She was our first donor.
Yeah, and on our bio site, we do have donate buttons to help donate the cause and help keep us accountable and motivated to the path of sobriety, which are very close to being on. And she was the first one to donate. She donated $20, so I really appreciate that. There's more comments too. I'm not going to get into them in this episode, but I wanted to point that one out in particular because
That's powerful because we're talking about origin stories, and that was from her goddamn mom.
yeah,
God bless Mom.
right. So I think that's pretty cool. I think we should reach out to her and invite her on the
did.
show. Did you?
Yeah,
You already invited her on the show?
just now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, I look forward to that. That's going to be an amazing episode.
Yeah. Cool. I can't wait for that one to come out.
Yeah, that one's going to be like an hour-long episode.
Yeah, good. I want to remind you that you can reach out to us through our social media channels. Links are in description. We are starting a newsletter. Want you to sign up for it. You can find it on our website at thesoberbros.com.
David's also on Tinder.
Oof.
No, he's not.